Okay. So now it is recording. Let me just share. Hmm. Okay. No, not this one. That is not. Okay. Huh. So now after running for 30,000, um, if we run for 30,000, now we will see it is pretty much very close to. Um, so it is now 4971. It is 4988. So decimal only at the third decimal we are seeing this differences. And this is 1.01180. This is 1.01148. So again, third decimal places. So now that we are seeing that posterior mean numerical and analytical, they converges to, um, you know, reasonably close. To your question that how many simulation size you required to get the convergence, um, it's depends that your problem size, but somewhere between 10,000 to 50,000, my experience shows that they generally buy, they do converge. I will. There are papers people have where argued even 1,000 is good. I mean, it depends on what kind of parameters. If it is a location or coefficient kind of parameters, like coefficient of a regression model or some location parameter, even 1,000 to 5,000 simulation is good enough. If it is a scale parameter, then you need little bit more samples, maybe 10,000 to 50,000. But if it is a correlation kind of parameter, you are interested in the estimating the correlation, then you need lot more samples. Correlations are a notoriously bad parameter actually. It's very difficult to estimate. You need lot more samples. And there are mathematical reasons why correlations are notoriously bad as parameters. So I don't want to take that detour. Um, so basically the idea is if I cannot estimate, so my target is to compute this posterior mean expected value of beta given the data y and x. I cannot estimate it, but I know some form of the posterior distribution. So what I can do, I can simulate the posterior samples and take the posterior mean, the simulated, the mean of the simulated values, and it will converge to the posterior mean as sample size. Simulation ns is my simulation size. As simulation size increases, goes to infinity, my posterior mean will converge to the true value of the posterior mean. So this is the idea. Um, so here I think we have to use x and x. Again, just using x. Hmm. So I think I have just repeated some couple of piece of code. That is fine, I believe. Um, hmm. Now, once I run this code, another question that comes in our mind. So, uh, yeah. So this is the typical 95% confidence interval. Suppose we are interested in what is the probability that alpha is strictly greater than 0, right? So what we have done here is we have drawn these thetas or um, Yeah. So what we have done, I have done alpha star, sorry, beta draws and sigma, and combined them, and I created this theta, the matrix. Okay. And then if it, from the theta, extracted the simulated alpha stars, and you just check in the simulated alpha stars how many of them are strictly greater than zero out of the total number of alpha star that you have computed, and take the proportion of it. So that will be the simple, estimate of this probability. So it is in a very, in that sense, it's very simple. And turns out that 56.73% of the alpha star are actually positive. Okay. Now I am going to introduce a concept called, I mean, in quantitative finance, it's called stress testing. But this concept you are being used in many places. It's basically in you know typical analytics industry. It is being called as what if analysis. Okay, what if, that happens, then what will happen? So the if S&P 500 drops by 3%, then how the portfolio return will vary. So what we have to do in that case, that what happens portfolio if S&P 500 drops by 3% in a day. So what we can do, what we are actually looking for, this, we need this probability, how this y tilde will vary given the y and x. In this case, if I given the data basically, so given the value of x, can I say something about the new value of y? So in order to solve this distributional problem, you just simulate, integrate out the beta and sigma, and then you get the predictive distribution. But solving this beta sigma is very difficult because beta is k very k dimensional, sigma is 1, so it will be k plus 1. In our case, it will be a 3-dimensional integration problem. So one way to solve this is you already simulating beta star and sigma star from your posterior distribution. You already simulated it, right? Now what you do, you plug it this beta star and sigma star in your posterior distribution. So basically you simulate from here, you already simulated it, you plug it here, this beta and sigma, that means you get the y's, and then simulate the y star from there, and that will not sure why it is doing these things. Okay, and that will give us the uh, required y star. So here I have what I have done. I've said that, okay, market drops by -3%. I'm going to simulate these values. So of n of them, I'm going to create X naught a matrix of ones and this, and then I'm going to compute this basically X transpose beta star for -3. And given this mean, and in this case it will be sigma, I have tried to return it in a generic way so that it will work for any regression, and it will simulate this y star, in this case rp.sim. And then you can just do the summary statistics here. This is just doing the quantile, 95% quantile histogram, and plotting the densities. So let me just run this. So if the market drops by 3%, that is -3, the IBM value can drop anywhere between -4 to -1.8%. Okay, and this is the simulated return, possible returns of IBM if market drops by 3%. If market drops by 3%, IBM's return can drop by somewhere between effectively this, maybe -5 to -1.5 or something like that in this range. Mostly the values are in this range. Okay. Um, Anybody have any question? So this is how typically we do in the test stress testing or what if analysis and stuff like that. Now what I'm going to do, you motivate you to go away from now till whatever Bayesian data analysis we have done is based on simple linear regression model where we assume that my residual follow a normal distribution. Okay, but any good statistical analysis should check the assumption. One of the fundamental assumption is the residual follow normal 0 sigma square. So I did a Shapiro test for that assumption, Shapiro-Wilk normality test, and it turns out that p-value is too small. Null hypothesis is it is normal, alternative is it is not normal. So we reject the normal assumption. So residual is not normal. I also did a QQ norm plot, and clearly QQ plot is not correct. Okay. So what can we do here? So assumption of epsilon is not correct. But if you look into the histogram of the uh, residuals, so I have just taken the residuals from the simple likelihood models, basic likelihood models. So this is how the distribution of residuals looks like. Okay. Now it looks like a bell shape near zero, but it has a bit of a heavy tail behavior. Now, what are the other distribution we know, which is whose location is near zero, but it has a heavy tail behavior? So one candidate distribution we know from the theory is Laplace distribution. So I decided, okay, let me try if to check if residuals are following a Laplace 0 sigma. Now this sigma and this sigma is different. This sigma is the, let me use a different notation. Otherwise people will be confused. MPTA. Yeah. So this is the lambda. Let me use lambda. Lambda is the scale parameter. Okay. It is not variance of Laplace. Variance of Laplace is a bit cumbersome. It is a closed form, but it's a cumbersome closed form. Sigma square is the variance. So sigma square for normal plays the role of scale parameter as well as it is variance. Lambda is a scale parameter, but it is not variance. Variance is a different thing. So first what I did, I write a density of the Laplace distribution, and then I wrote a negative log likelihood of uh, the Laplace distribution. So let me just run this part. And then I gave an initial value of 0, 1 and put the residuals in a vector called E. Okay. And then here is a general purpose optimization routine called Optim. In optim, I gave the initial parameters of 0 lambda, and then negative log likelihood is the function, and data is the residual. So this is the location parameter of the Laplace distribution 0.04, and the lambda estimate is 0.489. So I used a location as well as the scale, generic location and scale. So I can write at a maybe mu also I can write. But the mu turns out to be very close to 0, but not exactly 0. It is turns out to be 0.047. Then I decided to, okay, I will try to simulate residuals from this Laplace distribution. So this is the piece of code which basically simulate from the uh, Laplace distribution. And here I am running it and simulating the values. And then I did a QQ plot against the simulated value and the true residuals. And when I did that, we see that more or less QQ plot indicates that, you know, that residuals are most likely following a Laplace distribution. So that means we
Sir,
cannot
are there any standard tests to see if data follows Laplace distribution or not, like normality testing?
exactly Laplace. No, I don't think so. You can check whether, I think there are some tests we can which you can use to check if they are coming from the same distributions, like two samples test and some non-parametric tests are available, but exactly checking for Laplace distribution, not that I'm aware of.
Okay, okay.
Hmm.
So will not Kolmogorov-Smirnov test work, which is distance between two distribution?
Yeah, you can try Kolmogorov-Smirnov test actually. Yeah,
Okay, thanks.
yeah, that's a non-parametric methods. Statistical power is not very good, but you can definitely use that. Yeah.
Thank
Sir, what are residuals? As in, our inference was based on the assumption of normality, right?
Correct.
But
So,
then, if we base our inference on the assumption of Laplace, we might not get like this QQ plot.
what?
So, we calculated residuals based on some inferences we did.
Hmm.
And our inferences were presuming that the residuals are normal.
Hmm.
But then we see on the basis of assumption of normal residuals, we get Laplace.
Hmm.
So then the next thing would be to assume
No,
Laplace.
no, 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 no. I'll tell you why. We are we are using normality to do the testing for okay. We are estimating alphas and beta using OLS method. Let me
Ah,
let
that is equivalent to a normal error distribution
right, but that does not need any normality assumption.
of residuals.
Right.
Oh, how come? Because
No,
in
no. Yeah.
ML form.
Let me complete this.
Okay.
You just need epsilon follow random variable with expected value of epsilon is 0 and variance of epsilon is sigma square. That's it.
Yeah.
And you can use simple OLS method to estimate that.
Agreed. Agreed. But
Right? Just let me finish.
okay.
Then if you use epsilon follow use epsilon follow normal distribution, turns out that your likelihood estimate under normality assumptions on residual exactly match with OLS estimate.
Oh, right.
Hmm.
Right. So we are using OLS, but we are not using likelihood here.
Likelihood, not using the normality assumption in estimation procedure. But where we are using normality, we are using normality to make this kind of statement here, that if market drops by 3%, then the IBM return will vary between -4 to -1.5. That is based on this normality assumption. This kind of statistical inference is based on this kind of normality assumption. And this normality assumptions is coming from the residual is normal, which is not a valid assumption. So therefore, this inference is not valid. Any doubt?
So then I understood this part. Then the choice of the decision function as OLS is not justified because it is the MLE decision function only when we have normal error, right? And we
MLE
usually say that
decision,
MLE.
MLE estimates is correct one if you have a error, normal error,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I
right?
understood that part.
Hmm.
Then,
So
no, then, yeah.
that means if your error is not normal, then MLE estimates is not a very good estimates to use. That is the first thing. Direct MLE estimates. You can still use MLE, but definitely assuming normal and off the shelf MLE, that OLS estimate is not a very good estimate basically.
Right. Sir, but then OLS, does it work well for all error distributions? Like in your experience?
No, I mean, if my error distribution now are going to use Laplace, then OLS is out of the window. It will be completely different estimate, which I don't know what is the mathematically closed form solution, but it will definitely not OLS. You can still
Right.
assume error is non Laplace, and still you can estimate a likelihood estimates without assuming any prior, and you can do a
Right. Agree.
optimization on the likelihood. So basically, that is what we are trying to do here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, got it.
Okay, that one minute. So now we have to define a new model where this part is fine, that portfolio is a function alpha plus beta times S&P 500 plus epsilon. Epsilon is going to be my Laplace 0 lambda, but this is my data model. Now you can estimate alpha, beta, lambda using simple likelihood estimates by optimizing the negative log likelihood function. But that likelihood estimate is under the assumption that epsilon follow Laplace. Epsilon does not follow. So it's a completely different model.
Yeah, yes, sir.
It is not anymore. So naturally that estimate alpha beta will not be any more OLS estimate.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Got it.
So that is where I'm coming from. And then here I'm giving you an idea that, okay, I'm going to apply alpha on alpha Cauchy 0, 1, beta Cauchy 0, 1, and lambda half Cauchy 0, 1 distribution as a prior. One reason is if I'm going to do a Bayesian estimation, I don't, now, first of all, my data model is completely unknown. I have no clue. Second is if I use a non-informative prior, I don't know that whether that posterior will be proper posterior or not. So I have to do an integration where I have to check whether it is a integrable or not. So I have not tried that, but if you can check whether it is a integrable or not, okay, under non-informative improper prior. But if you I don't want to spend time on, check whether my posterior under non-informative improper prior is integrable or not. I want to get a quick solution. So one reliable solution is you just choose a proper prior with the weakest information. So I choose Cauchy 01, beta Cauchy 01, and lambda half Cauchy, because I know mean variance does not exist for, or moments does not exist for these distributions. So I've taken these priors.
Yes, sir.
Here I have written a log likelihood function. Here I have log prior, half Cauchy, and with the log prior. This is log posterior. Then what I have done, I have written something called Metropolis Hastings algorithm, which is one version of Markov chain Monte Carlo. I'm just going to give you a demo here. Don't panic, okay? Just a demo, and this Markov chain Monte Carlo requires a proposal density. So I've used a proposal density here, which basically the posterior distribution under conjugate prior, that Bayesian simple regression models. I know that model is a completely wrong model, but that I'm just using that as a proposal density. Okay, alpha beta, I know that alpha beta and the lambda's value will be somewhat close there. So I'm using them as a proposal density to begin with. It's like, when you are using some kind of optimization, deterministic optimization, numerical optimization, you have to give some initial values, right?
Yes,
But
sir.
when you are simulating from a distribution and you have no clue actually what the uh, distribution actually looks like, and it is also in high dimension, it is in, remember that this distribution is in the 3 dimension. Going forward it could be in the k dimension, so I have no idea how it looks like. So what I have to do, I have to give some kind of proposal distribution from which I will simulate, like, initialization, and then we will do check whether it makes sense, that makes sense or not. But I will come to the very detailed integrity in the coming forward. I mean, in the
Like
coming.
we did for the Gaussian process optimization.
Correct. Um, Gaussian process optimization is something different. I mean, I'm not, yeah, we can use that also, Gaussian process optimization. Like Bayesian optimization, you are saying.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Bayesian optimization we can also use, but we will come to that later. Okay.
Yes.
And then here I'm running the Metropolis algorithm. So I'm not going to explain you at this lecture. In this lecture, I'm not going to explain you the uh, Metropolis. This requires a lot of explanations that will come in future. But here I just wrote a function for Metropolis. And so, and here I'm running actually the Metropolis with 30,000 simulation. Again, it is going to say it is end to end in 10 minutes. Okay, fine. And then, so here it is giving me an estimate of alpha to be 0.04 and beta to be 1.08 and lambda to be 0.49. So this is the estimates of alpha. This is the estimates of the beta, and this is the estimates of the lambda. And this is the trace plot and density plot, how the density plot looks like. And then calculated that probability again, probability of alpha strictly greater than 0. Now this time it turns out to be 88%, slightly quite a bit of different actually. So it looks like under this Laplace residual error, it looks like it could be, there could be a possibility that that IBM stock is little bit undervalued, but that is. So with this, I'm going to stop here with the Bayesian regression model, and I will start motivating you towards how to simulate from posterior distribution. So next lecture onwards, I will introduce the Monte Carlo simulation technique for Bayesian analysis. So you guys have already have the of this this Google Colab thing, right?
Yeah, the link is there.
Yeah, check it out, run it, check, and if you have any doubts, then let me know. In this model, in this particular model, what I want you to do, I have run that I written the log likelihood function here so this is the log likelihood for under Laplace residual. So you will see the Laplace residual has a absolute value of y minus predictive value here. So what I want you to do, you try optimize it, and you will see that the optimization might be a little bit problematic, and then you tell me why optimization, and I estimating likelihood estimates could be a little bit problematic, and why it is so. Just let me know. So think about it, look into the likelihood function, and you will know that why numerical optimization is actually a bit of a problem here. You know, you probably will get something, it's not like you will not get a estimates, but this will not be the optimal solution. It will be a little bit suboptimal solution, and why it is so. Okay, anybody have any question?
Could you repeat the question?
So here is the log likelihood, right? You can write it as a negative log likelihood
Yeah.
and try to optimize, like using optim. Here I have done this optimization, MLE optim, right? You can use the
Right, right.
same optim function to optimize it, to estimate the MLE under the assumption that residual follow Laplace distribution. Okay.
Yes, sir.
My question is to you, you will most likely going to face a problem in the convergence of the MLE of the optimization. It will throw some
Okay. The
convergence issue.
convergence or something will be
Yeah, the
problematic.
question is why this convergence will be, there is a mathematical reason this convergence will be an issue. And I want you to think about it, why this optimization convergence will be an issue, and you cannot solve it just by that.
Right. So what sort of optimization does that optim function use?
That you figure out.
Okay,
You
okay.
go
Yes,
look into the manual and figure out
yes, sir. Yes,
in default what it is.
yes.
This is the optim function. This is general purpose high dimension optimization problem.
Yes.
Okay. First you try the optim, and you will most likely going to see some, it might give you optim, but it will say that okay, some convergence number, which actually means the convergence did not take place properly, or some issues you may face. The question is, what is the issue? Even if you get a solution, most likely the solution is not reliable. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So that is what I'm trying to think about it, why I'm saying so. So look into the objective function and tell me next week at the beginning, I mean next lecture at the beginning, what is the problem. Okay. Okay, all right. With this, I will stop here today and see you on Thursday. Okay.
So this Thursday we have a class, right? Like,
Yeah. Normal regular class is there.
so from next week onwards, Monday and Thursday.
Monday and Thursday. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Bye.